All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Let's get started. Here's the music. And we'll lower that down here. All right. So, questions about yesterday. Doing some work. If anybody skipped ahead, did some more work. Any questions before we dive in on day one, part two of the DMP?
I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
If you could talk in the page that starts the terrain ahead or critical nature of the step. Third, in this step, you're setting the tone for the emotional resilience you need throughout your journey. And you made a reference to delusional thinking.
Yes.
Can you expand on delusional thinking?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Do you ever have one of those flies in your office? Because I know what the bees sound like. Bees can't fly in the dark, by the way. Did you know that bees can't fly in the dark? They can't. But there's something in here that sounds like it could be the SR-71 stealth fighter jet or something. I don't know. It's anyways. So I am not delusional in my thinking that thing is big. So delusional thinking. I'll start tomorrow. Delusional thinking. Well, if maybe that's too big of a goal. Delusional thinking. Well, I know this and I should be able to do it. It's when we dilute our own capability because, well, let me put it this way. Delusional thinking doesn't require faith. Delusional thinking does not require gratitude. Delusional thinking is a version of the facts that we've assembled in such a way to allow ourselves to not have to do anything. And the challenge is, I shouldn't say the challenge, what exists most often in your world, Heather, is this is your clients. Your clients are all delusional thinkers, which is why they're hiring you to stop the delusion.
That's a big responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility, which is why you have to have them decide to not be delusional anymore. Otherwise, they constantly depend on you, rely on you, come to you, fix it. And if you don't do the right thing, if you don't spend the extra 72 hours of trying to figure out the 3 drops of turmeric oil versus tea tree oil, you see, it's the delusional thinking your clients have is creating a nocebo that I don't know how you get through it.
So how do you break through that?
So you ask them to start to create their own prescription. What's the prescription they would have available? Most of them are not doctors, so they can't go get a chemical, so they have to produce the chemical. So you ask them, what are ways that you can elevate your body's vibration? What are ways you can elevate your body's capability to deal with the detox? And you get them involved. You get them to take ownership. The delusional thinking is, well, Heather will fix it. No, I go to a chiropractor. He's going to pop a bone and do this, that, or the other. I have to now avoid doing it again. Right. But if it's, so here's the thing. Delusional thinking is them not allowing you to do the manipulation, right? Then not allowing you to do the coordination, and sure as heck not allowing you to do the conversation. And they make a big decision. They get started. They buy the big package because they think buying the package fixed it. They don't realize it's the 8, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks of, holy crap, it's only week 8. I thought I'd be better by now. Well, congratulations. Your delusional thinking has got you right where you're supposed to be. So maybe what we do is you and I do an interview, or let me interview you. You give me a list of the hiccups, the holdups, the things that normally cause people, and say, listen, I've got a 3-part series that I'd like you to listen to help set the stage. I was on an international morning show, and I was asked some questions, and this gentleman comes out of the wellness world, and just, this is for me to kind of be, or you ask me about the brain and ask me about this. And this way you're not the one going, nah, don't, you got to do what I tell you to do. But you say, listen, this series was designed for, I want to say my patients, but it was designed for my clients who are committed to wellness. And we do a 1 hour long, and we break it up into 20-minute segments. And now you've got a thing saying, listen, you need to listen to this because your brain is the biggest part of this thing that needs some curing.
Oh, Sean, I would love that.
Okay, done.
Thank you.
But do you see how that helps with the delusional thinking?
Yes.
Right. Cool beans. Yep, we could do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, welcome, welcome. Who else? Any other questions before we dive into part 2? Done, Diane. All I see is would love to do something. I'm sure it says like that, or there's the rest of the stuff. Then let's do it. This is, I'm gonna just shake you all about the head, neck, and chest area. Huh?
Not allowed to swear.
I know, I'm not swearing.
I'm taking $10 every time you say a swear word.
Ah, shit.
He
All
just
right.
gonna shake us.
So basic, share screen. There we go. All good. Ready to move on? Okay. So psychological, so lack of self-knowledge. This is a big one, right? If you see me and my head goes like this, it's because whatever's flying around in my office hit me, and that's, ooh, that one just got close. So unaware of the inner self. This is the archetypes. I don't know that there's an hour that goes by that I'm not in conversation with my archetypes. Do you ever call your kids and you've called them a dozen times already, meaning when they were sitting around, you called them inside to help with something and whatever, or whatever it is, and they're like, what do you want now? Right? That's how my archetypes get during the day. Because I know if it's the one who is asking the question, or who is in delusional thinking, is not one of my archetypes. My archetypes don't do delusional thinking. My highest self does not do delusional thinking. Who do you think, when you're having a conversation with your prospect and you're going to teach them, you're going to move them, you're going to motivate them? Honestly, just unmute. Who do you think you're speaking to when you're speaking to that particular person at that time? When you're saying, listen, let's get you some money. Let's show you the comp plan. Let's do this. Let me teach you this. Let me show you this. Let me show you the new diet you're going to be on. Which archetype do you think you're speaking to?
They're a warrior.
The warrior. And so what's the warrior designed? The warrior only has one design, to fight.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
When we go into lack of self-knowledge,
Yep.
what?
Yes, go ahead. That's where we're at.
So what if it's been false? Of knowing what is, huh?
No, go ahead, because I was answering three questions after this. Ask the question again. What if your self-knowledge, what if your inner self has not been true?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you know it's so? But if it's not been true, then we must know a truth.
Right.
So is the question, do I deal with my oldest truth or do I deal with my most truthful truth?
In what way can you expand and find that?
So what would be the most, what would be the truest truth? What would be the state? Is it misery?
No,
Is it doubt?
no. It would be happiness if we're going to the root.
Well, we're going to the center. We're going to what Jung called the understanding the self. So if you go to the root of happiness, of gratitude, where is the lie in that? Or is there?
I don't think the lie lies there. I think that the lie is more of the aspect of what I've thought it would be.
Right. So what
Other
expands
people.
that? What expands it? What expands what you thought would be? What would be?
Wait, say that again?
So you have a perception of what is.
Right.
And you now, when you get to look at it, when you take some time, and this is where time and meditation and expansion and saying, is that all there is? And this is where we had the conversation earlier, I think was on a live you and I did, talking about the depth of happiness. At 6 years old, you got a bike, you were happy as heck. You got a birthday cake, happiest you'd ever been, the one with you wanted with cherries on top and whipped cream. Oh my God, the happiest you've ever been. And then you have your first romance. I'm a lot happier than I was with a 6-year-old birthday cake. But they're two different levels of awareness of happiness. Teo's born. They put Teo in your arms. It's happiest moment of any moment. Cello in your arms. Happiest moment of happiest moments. It's not that it's happier than Teo. It's just, this is another happiness. This is such an all unexpected, everything else and everything else that was going on in your life at the time and blah, 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 blah. So when you start to examine the self, aren't you undoing? Aren't you burning away? Aren't you, when you put the light on something, right? What's the best disinfectant that exists? The sun. So when you put the light on it, when you start to shine light on your soul, on your heart, on your spirit, to go after your DMP, the light disinfects all of this stuff. This is why it's not a script that does anything.
Okay.
Ask. Because this is important. This is the foundational stuff.
Wait, what'd you say? I'm sorry. My internet's so wonky right now that I hear every other word.
Okay. I said ask again because this is foundational and I want you to get it. There is no,
So when we look at the lack of self-knowledge, right? And we're asking, what does genuinely light your fire?
is it strategy or
I
state that let that light your fire?
it's state.
Mhm.
Doesn't work when it comes to lighting your own fire.
Right. So
But what
is,
if you've never gone?
go ahead.
Go
What,
ahead.
what if you never gone what?
What if you've never gone after? What if you've never gone after your own fire?
Right. So then what would that, so what do you think, what do you believe? So let's do what they do in science. Isn't that called a hypothesis?
Yeah.
So what would be the hypothesis? That going after what I desire would light my fire.
But that goes back to knowing what your desire is.
Well, it goes back to knowing what you want so that you can start to put the white hot light behind it, right? So do you want carpet in your house?
In some places.
Okay, so is that enough to make you get a white hot desire that you'll burn everything and burn all the bridges?
No.
But that's part of your big dream. Why not? Because it's not the biggest dream. It's not the one, that's a spark. That's not the fire. This has to burn when doubt comes, when the rains come, when the floods come, when everything else comes. This has to be the non-negotiable desire. So you've gone after things before. This is probably a bigger one that you want to arrive at, but it's still the state. It's just now it can be a multiple of the state, but the key is what's the thing that you went after the most? What's the thing that you did that got you fired up the most in life? Could it have been every summer when you wanted to go? Bee, you sounded like a bee. What are you doing in here, baby?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You up because your stinger's going out like crazy. I love you. Oh, it's Frida. Hi, Frida. I have you tattooed on me. Take you up to the hive in a little bit. Ooh. Go ahead with your question, Danielle.
Yeah, it would have been the summers. I was answering your question.
Okay. So
The burning desire.
right. So the summers. How did you get it done? Nobody thought you could do it. How'd you get it done?
I don't know, I just knew it'd be
Okay.
done.
So
I used resources that I had.
okay. So what could
And
you do now with it?
what could I do?
What could you do now with that same kind of thing? What resources do you have? What's the thing that you want? Is it the house? Is it the money?
Yeah.
Okay. So the second one is psychological barriers, low self-efficacy.
All of the above.
Yeah. So the belief that one can't achieve what they desire often deters people from even identifying those desires in the first place. The concept aligns well with some of the teachings on mental toughness, analysis paralysis. Overthinking can be detrimental. See, this is in the next paragraph. As the Stoics often emphasize,
Well, so
overanalysis can lead to inaction, making it challenging to follow a specific desire wholeheartedly. And then it goes on, the complexity of fluidity of desire and fluidity of desire, multiplicity of desires. This is why you can only have one. Humans are complex beings with a plethora of needs and desires which may conflict with each other. Finding that singular burning desire admits that cacophony is often challenging. So it's going through your brain.
I'm looking at the notes that I wrote from doing these,
Mm-hmm.
and I've highlighted the capability of achieving goals and the overthinking of what I want to do and being stuck of not doing anything at all.
Right. Evolving desires. What one desires at 20 may not hold true at 40. Our burning desires can evolve, adding a layer of complexity to the quest.
And I wrote underneath all of that, I'm in pressure now, still exploring the desire.
You're in pressure.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Meaning that if I don't come up with what it is or find out what it is, that I won't have the time. And I don't mean I choose not to have the time, that I'm finding excuses that
Right.
time won't run out.
So what does Napoleon Hill say about once you make a decision? When should you begin?
Now,
Immediately. So start the
Yeah.
desire. So let the desire come once you have. What's happening is perfectionism, procrastination. Right. So, well, I need to figure it out before I can get started. No, you got to get started and then you'll figure it out, because you're not going to do things to throw your life away. And the simple act of getting started, of moving one step, changes everything. So what do you want? And this is for all of us. What do you want? Put it down on paper. What do you want? What do you want?
I want my income in my house.
Okay, great. So pick a number.
My number was 350.
Okay. So that's by the end of December 2024.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's 350. That's to pay it in full, or is that to down payment?
This would be the yearly
Okay.
that I would want.
Excellent. So a yearly
And-
income of 350,000, and how many square foot is a house?
30,000.
3,000,
Yeah,
3,500,
something close to that.
3,500
Yeah,
square
I
feet?
don't know the
Okay, so say
right now.
35,
It's not
say 3,500 square feet.
okay.
1 floor, 2 floors.
1 floor. I
Okay,
want 2
1
floors.
floor. That's a big, long house. That's a cool house.
Well,
Porch?
back. Yes, porch,
Yeah,
back, front porch, back.
yep, okay, cool. So now all of a sudden, so now we have a desire. So now guess what has to happen? If that is true, and somebody says, let's go, I don't know, go to the movies. And you can either go to the
No,
movies or you can work on getting your 350 or your house. What do you say?
the 350 and the house.
Okay, so see how easy it got?
Okay, so since we're on this topic, I
Yep.
don't have an issue saying no to things like that.
So what do you have an issue?
Or
So what takes up all your time?
my energy.
Yeah, but what takes it up? I mean, where does it go?
Nowhere.
Okay, so
That's the problem.
you have a big problem saying no to stuff.
Well, I meant you asked for people asking me to go do things, for people asking me to.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Which archetype? So you got to say no to your lazy archetype. There's a part of you that gets satisfaction out of being in control, but the other part of you wants to shoot everything in sight because you don't have control. And therefore you turn into a wild witch on Wednesdays because you don't want to have to deal with it. You're like, I don't need to go anywhere. Screw you. But somebody says, well, why aren't you doing this? World War 77. So what part of you do you have to say no to? What part of your lazy energy? And I don't mean lazy like you're lazy. I know you're doing stuff. But the part of you that's lazy, we gotta get you fired up to call it something that you don't want to call it. And it's a simple decision. Once the decision is made, then all of a sudden it's okay, game over. Done. That's not happening again. Mark said to me one time, he said, you shouldn't drink sodas anymore. That's not good. And from the day he said that, I think I've had one diet in a Cuba Libre. I don't even ask for diet anymore, but somebody put it in a Cuba Libre. But and I don't drink sodas. So in 2 years, almost 3 years, I've had 2 sodas where I was drinking Diet Cokes a couple a day. Just made a decision. No, not doing it. This is the delusional thinking. Can you have the discipline to say yes long after the emotion of saying yes is gone? Bottom of page 3, economic pressure. Sometimes the urgency to make a living overshadows the leisure to explore one's burning desire. The concept echoes Maslow's hierarchy, where psychological and safety needs are often preceded by self-actualization. As you sit now in the next 24 hours, are you safe? Next 48 hours? 72 hours? So in the next 72 hours, you can devote some time to self-actualization. You don't have to worry about water, food, safety, security. And you have to literally go turn those off. Then you need to begin to ask. This is the toughest thing you'll ever do. And yet once you do it, it becomes a skill that you'd pay millions for. You'll be paid millions for it. You'll be paid tens of thousands of dollars for it. If your goal is to make 350 a year, and let's just say it stayed there. In 10 years, that's $3.5 million. How long do you want to wait to get $3.5 million? It's a decade. You'll be 36.
I sure will be.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take you back to the hive. Stop sticking your stinger out. Unless you're
Sean, can you just, can you give us a definition of self-actualization?
Becoming fully aware of your purpose. My goal is to be a better husband, better father. That was a self-actualization, right? To do no harm, to help people have more of what they want, less of what they don't. It's why when things go apparently sideways, they don't go sideways. That's just a part of the path forward. They don't go sideways for me. Nothing goes sideways. It doesn't take me off my path. It may have been a slippery spot on my path, but it does. I'm not in a ditch. So self-actualization is you are on your path and you absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, say no to everything that. Here's the thing. Once you get so white hot burning, the distractions don't even appear. People don't ask. They're like, no, they're tuned in. They're wired. They're on focus. And the challenge with that is sometimes people, they just won't even venture out to ask. Like, oh, well, I thought you were working on your thing. Well, yeah, but I still like to go out on a boat every now and then. Existential uncertainty. For some, the ambiguity around life's purpose and meaning makes the identification of a singular burning desire daunting, almost a futile task. We are so wired, we are so programmed to do 1,001 things. We are so programmed to do 1,001 things that when we say we're going to focus on this one thing, Heather knows this. When she goes to get somebody based upon their criteria, based upon their current level of wellness, she will move them, push them, and let's just focus on this for the first week. We got to get your liver going. We got to get your kidney going. Once we get that, then we can do the other things. But if we do it all at once, we're gonna crater. And part of the conversation as well, Heather, might be is to say, this might seem uncomfortable for you, but I want you to know there is no delusion on my part what we can do. What I'm capable of doing with you, through you, and for you, if you decide that you're going to go along for the journey. Because otherwise we can stuff you, stick you, and roll you, and it's not going to work if you're going to sit in a nocebo. That's why I've had conversations, and some of you may have been a part of some of those, where they say, well, I'm just this. I get it. So do you feel there's a reason for us to continue having a conversation? Well, I mean, I want to learn more. Well, my middle name's not Google. So anything else before I go? Well, aren't you going to tell me about the thing? No, I value your time too much to be an educator here. That's what they have universities and online courses for. You can learn all of that information from them. I'm about application. Does that help? Questions, comments? So social conditioning taboos, page, I think we're on page 4 now. The concept of burning desire is a pivotal one in the realm of personal development. However, identifying it can indeed be a struggle for many, and for the reasons that for this come both intricate and multifaceted. So inherited roles, social conditioning. Many people grew up with societal family expectations, fear of judgment. What are some of the things that, right? And these are the questions that we just went through. Now you can answer them. Which one of those, maybe you've already made some notes in your notebook, maybe you've already made some notes, but does anybody have questions on those? If you're going to write down some of these things, like on page 5, psychological barriers, low self-efficacy. I can't achieve it. I don't think I'm good enough. Ask where that belief from. Ask which archetype believes that. Ask your sovereign if they believe that. Ask your king or queen if they believe that.
I think, Sean, one of the things that I wrote down, I just got little jot notes here. I said, as we age and travel and change jobs and we do different things in life, we grow with the experiences we go through.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives us a new perspective. And sometimes it helps. Well, we may have our values and beliefs, but it may change it a bit to where we are in our life. And like where I live, it's not right in the city, it's outside the city. And like my neighbor grew up here, never moved away or traveled much. So it's that small, like they'd say, the small town thinking, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But she's very content in her life. She married someone from here. She had 2 kids and she has grandchildren, and she's just content. But when we get together, she complains about things. And so I just say, how can we look at things differently or whatever? And so it's interesting. We had a very interesting conversation yesterday. She said, yeah, I'm not going to complain anymore. And I'm not going to say anything about him anymore. Her husband he's very set in his ways and it drives her crazy. But so she's going to adopt a new way of thinking in that. But it's funny, because she's never really traveled anywhere outside of this area. And it's interesting to me because, I've traveled a lot of places and done different things. And it's interesting how people can be content in where they are. And they really don't have any need to go outside of their sphere or their area to do anything more or anything better.
So possibly one of the challenges is that anybody who has had that, shall we say, small town thinking is where it says, under lack of self-knowledge, limited exposure, right? Some people have not been exposed to enough experiences or fields of study to understand what generally lights the fire within them. You might have a conversation with her and say, have you ever been watching the Travel Channel or anything and ever thought, boy, that would be a neat place to go? And see if she has the capacity. See, doesn't even have the capacity to dream.
She does. She watches. We were over there and she had the show's on about travel and home improvement and those things. And her daughter's boyfriend, his dad, is giving them a trip. They're all going to Cancun for Christmas,
Oh, wow.
2 weeks. And she says, oh yeah, I'd love to go with them. I'll just sit at the pool all day. But I can't see her sitting at the pool all day because she's always puttering around her house. But yeah, and that's why I thought it was interesting, because she has no desire to really go or expand herself. She's quite content being a wife and a mother and a grandmother and just doing her thing around the house. It's interesting.
Is it possible that she's quite content because at some point when she was little, she had the expansive thinking and she got her hand slapped? And she said, so this is a new level of comfortable, right? Think about Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
When everybody got out and they went to that halfway house or the intermediate house and they all signed their name on the beams and different things. Most of them hung themselves in there because they didn't have the security. You want security? Go to prison. That's the best security of all. But most people live in their own prison.
Well, that's what I thought, I said, she's in her, it kind of limits her because it's that limited kind of thinking, right?
And so that's where, like you said, she watches the channels. And so I'd be curious if they know possibly what resort there might be going to. And seeing if there's any of the little excursions or anything. And not to say, are you going on them, but just, doesn't seem like there might be, maybe she's a history buff, maybe not, but there's just some cool things to do in Cancun, and sitting by the pool is one of them. Maybe how many different pools do they have at the resort? They got the kids pool, the adults pool, they got this pool and that pool. And you could have fun with her and go, oh my God, when if she tells you, finds out the name of the resort, go, that's the all nude resort. That's going to be so much fun. And just watch her head explode.
Well, the Mayan ruins aren't far from there. We've been there. We went there on our honeymoon. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
But it's just, looking at people's lives and how they can settle into their way of life and not even think to expand or look ahead to be better than they are, to do more, but just being content where they are.
So isn't it possible that that's the majority of people you meet?
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Less than 5%, they say, of the US. It probably is universally the same. Well, I take that back. The US, because we only speak one language here, there's not a whole lot of reason for people to travel or a desire to travel, but 5% of the people have ever gotten their passport stamp. Now, in Canada, because you got French Canadians, you have all of this stuff, and people, it's an easier place for people to transition to. But there's not a whole lot of people, going from East Coast to West Coast in Canada, going out to the islands, right? Vancouver Islands and stuff. Those are absolutely gorgeous. But there's probably people who live 100 miles from it and never go to Vancouver Island. Oh no, hey, that's just right. So this is all about expanding our horizons. I haven't been to the Natural Bridge. The Natural Bridge is 8 miles from me. I haven't been to the Natural Bridge, but there's signs everywhere on 65. Go to the Natural Bridge. And I said, we need to go to the Natural Bridge. And here's what happens. Michelle said, it's like a goat path. Because somebody told her, which I'm sure it's gotten even a little bit more fascinating to be less fascinating. So, it's all of these things that we have to become aware of. And that's why we have to have our burning desire. Right? How many people have we hung around simply because they looked like they knew where they were going? And then all of a sudden, we are either happily impressed or very disappointed. So, yes, absolutely. bring some back to the ranch. Now, again, this is all of this is to say about understanding your burning desire. That once the fuse gets lit on your burning desire, it doesn't typically go out. It sure as heck doesn't go out easy. And this is why most people will never find their burning desire, is because they won't take the time necessary to chippy away everything not a you. Right? What is it I really want? What do I really want? What do I really, really want? What would I put myself on the line for? What would I put everything on the line for? All or nothing, right? I'm all in. What will you go all in for? Because here's the thing. Would you go all in for a swing set in the backyard of the new house? Funny how when we bought the house in Plano 20 years ago, Mason was 3, so 17 years ago, there was a swing set in the backyard. It had the little playhouse. It had the little fort, right? It was made out of wooden beams and had a slide and some swings and this, that, or the other. Oh my gosh, there's a swing set. And Mason goes running out there, jumps on the swing, and it was a puppy dog close. But it was the swing set. Michelle wanted him to have the swing set more than anything else. We figured out the rest. So what's the thing you want somebody to have that you will just absolutely go nose to the grindstone, shoulder to the dirt, whatever it is, nose to the ground, somewhere you're burning something or grinding something. But where are you going to go do it? What's the thing that needs to get done in this lifetime? Don't spend an instant on the strategy. Begin where you stand, begin at once, and begin with massive action. And then be prepared to say, oh my gosh, you won't believe what's happened. And this is where self-talk comes in. This is where having the conversation always and 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 always in your mind, running in your mind. Anything else that comes in, could you imagine, right? Tony Robbins talks about, Jim Rohn said, if your worst enemy comes by and puts a little sugar in your coffee, what do you have? You got sweet coffee. What if your best friend comes by and accidentally drops a little bit of arsenic in your coffee? What do you have? Poison. So what's the moral of the story? Guard your coffee. Guard the doorway to your mind. Your best friend could come by with a complaint and it's arsenic to your dreams. Your worst enemy could come by with some sugar and it's sweetness for your dreams. The key is you're the only one that stands guard at the doorway of your mind. And that's of the conscious. The subconscious is what we're trying to wrangle into place and put into working order for us. That's almost impossible if we're battling on 72 fronts. Well, I've got my friend who says this, and then I got my buddy at work who says that, and I got my spouse who says this, and I got my sister who says that, and then my mom says this. And that's just consciously, which is then your brain is looking for all of the patterns to say, yep, this is your life. Yep. Hell in a handbasket. Yep. Yeah. This is it. Yep. Oh, you're going to put a bow on it? You're going to study algorithms? Great. Awesome. Going to understand algorithms. That'd be awesome. Yep. This makes sense? Okay. Questions, comments, thoughts before I let you go for the evening? Listen, I'm okay with as long as this takes.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, Mr. Bob Kane.
So I've been dabbling with what Amber shared with us with the different chakras, and I can actually finally remember them
Cool. Love
and
it.
understand it a little bit, and been, when I'm doing self-talk, talking to the different levels of chakras, but I don't understand that whole concept as well as I would like to, I guess.
Okay.
Um,
So the chakras are energy centers. So when you want steel to move, or you want him to slightly adjust course or adjust course in a large way, right? So you speak to the reins, or sometimes you can move them with your knees, can't you?
Certainly, yeah.
Right?
Use the leg, or
You
yeah.
use them. You can use your heels. So those are
Can do it with my intent. He can feel my intent.
so that's your crown chakra, right? The I am is you sitting on the saddle. I'm in the saddle. I'm doing riding. That's the reins, your knees, just your heels. I love riding. That's the intention that he feels from you. I speak riding. I speak steel. Right? I see third eye. I see steel. You're constantly looking out for the field. He sees the field. He sees things different than you see it. Together, the two of you see your path. And then the understanding is the joy he gets when you go, okay, we're going to open you up a little bit. And he's, phew, right? Or they love always coming back to the barn. Typically don't have to steer a horse on the way back to the barn. So that's the I understand. That's the crown chakra. I love. This is it. This is us in harmony.
So we've got to get all of them in sync.
It's just like trying to ride them all together. When you have a good ride, wasn't it all in sync?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of like what I used to describe when I used to feel when I was an athlete, and guide my athletes too when I was coaching, being in the zone, being in that flow when things just come easy. And
it's massive action, but it seems effortless.
yeah.
So that's when the chakras are in
there's
alignment.
There's so much more, and that's a magical place to be.
And that exists in every moment. Because there's no way
If you have all those chakras in alignment.
If you have the chakras in alignment, yet if you're not trying to align them, what's the shortest distance between 2 points? A straight line.
Yeah.
Well, it runs from the top of your head to the base of your spine, so they're already in a straight line. It's just, what if we go and flip the switches on them and then because here's what happens. One horse in the corral does one thing. One horse you add, so that's the root chakra. You now add the sacral chakra, the I do, and all of a sudden the horses change. The I am and the I do change because they're now in harmony. They're now in association with each other. Okay, so now I got I am and I'm doing. Then I got I love. I am, I do, I feel. I am, I do, I feel my solar plexus. I feel. Well, I feel doing. I feel I aming. Now all of a sudden it shifts again. And all of a sudden your aura starts to begin to expand. Your radiance of your energetic field begins to expand. And when you're in alignment, that's when steel knows you. He recognizes you. You love steel. You love putting the saddle on. You love the smell of the leather. You love the sound of the bit in his mouth. You love all of this stuff, cinching down the cinch on under the belly and putting this on, and that it's only the sound that leather makes when you go to put that foot in the stirrup, and the way your boot slides in there, just in the way it scrapes across the bottom. All of that is I hear and I speak, and it's overwhelming to the senses. Which is why it's a good thing we can take in 20 million bits of data per second. You can feel him shudder when he's shaking a fly off. right? But you don't say, oh, he just shuddered. I wonder where a fly was. I wonder what kind of fly that was. No, you don't even, but you know it. You're there because your body is sensing it, because your desire is to be at one. And if you can, you've swatted a couple of horse flies on animals before, I'm sure, no doubt, because if you didn't and they got bit, boy, then you better hang on, Katie, bar the door.
Yep.
So your chakras are in alignment. This is the part of you that says, well, I'm not a chakra guy. You are. The hell you ain't. You've been a chakra guy. To load a horse, you got to have your chakras in place. Why can you walk up to them and not everybody else? So they're in alignment. You just think, well, I need them in alignment for this. No, you already have them in alignment. When you think I have to get them in alignment for my business, that's when they go out of alignment. You're like, well,
So what I utilize when working with a horse, which is their language of feel,
yep,
that's really when everything is in alignment.
that's your sacral chakra. That's your reproductive organs. There's the I am, the I feel. I'm sorry. That's the solar plexus. No, that's the sacral chakra. The I feel, the I do is the solar plexus. Right here is the I do, right? Underneath, right between the rib cages. So when you're over there and feel it, just imagine and just say, I am walking up to him. I feel I am walking up to him. I'm doing walking. I love walking up to Steele. I speak walking up to Steele. Hey, buddy, how are you? Right? You always do that when you're walking up to him. And then I see Steele. I love walking and seeing Steele. And then I understand Steele. And watch this opening. And you do it a couple times, your body will go into a highest state of energy that you haven't felt in a while. And you go, oh, wow. Okay. Somebody just, when I had my chakras aligned the first time, I thought somebody hit me with 220 volts of power. I was in the far infrared sauna. You guys have heard me tell the story. And I literally took my headphones and threw them off. And I yelled at Michelle. I go, what the hell are you doing? I thought she was trying to rewire something and like electrocute me. But it wasn't. She goes, what are you talking about? I go, what did you do with the power? She goes, nothing. I've been sitting in the bedroom. And my body literally got a jolt of, I've been shocked by 220, 440. But this was a 220. I know 220. And it was 110. 110 kind of is like aggravating. But 220 was like, boom.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. I will persist in this understanding.
So under the resources is the Ask meditation, Amber's meditation.
Yep.
So you put that on your headphones as you're riding out to Steele, as you're getting ready to walk out to Steele. And then just remember the mantras for each one is I am, I feel, I do, right? So root, sacral, solar plexus, I do. Heart, I love. Neck, I speak. Third eye, I see. And crown, I understand.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
All right, brother. Anyone else? Okay. Yes, go ahead, Heather.
So looking at my notes that I jotted down last night, I see, and I just wanted to clarify that I wrote down what I heard correctly. You asked the question, what lives in my subconscious?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I heard you say, or I heard myself say, somebody said, the answer to every question.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, I have that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Where else could it live?
Out there.
But how do you access out there?
Meditation.
Which is in here.
Yep.
So we say it's out there. But if there's more connections in our brain than there are stars in the universe, then I think it's in here. We're just told it's out there. The best way out of any problem is to go in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wonder how long it'll be before I get like the big orange robe and the turban. I'm so happy to see you today, everybody.
Let me see if that's available on Amazon.
You go, my Halloween
Ship it to
costume.
you.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Go
out.
to Amazon.
I want my guru costume, please.
Love it.
All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning as well, but tomorrow night as well. We'll continue this conversation on. We'll get to page 6 if need be. All right. I love you tons. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have an amazing evening. I'm going to go get Michelle and we're going to go take back. Let me see if I turn this off. Go turn Harrietta back into her, go open up the cave. Come on.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Sean. Good night, everybody.
Good little Harrietta. I'm going to take her back home.
Hello.
Back home.
Hello.
You okay, baby? I love you. Stop stinging. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to put my hand near your butt. It's not 10 o'clock yet. It's not happy hour. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Love you tons. See you in the morning.
Love you guys. Good night.
Bye for now.